Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. So if you just have missed the last few videos, I've made 2 videos this week now. I made one yesterday, which is a VC thread video. It's 12+1, where you're supposed to show a bunch of compilation records. So I show a bunch of like early 70s, late 60s comps that I have, some pretty rare stuff. And the other one, I talked about this record, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, 50th Anniversary, remastered by Kevin Gray. So that's really good. And I assumed it was going to be fantastic. Man, I had a surprise, and I was wondering, well, what's going on? So that's the title of that video. Make sure you catch that. And that video kind of leads into this video, because about the same time, I was really happy, picked up this record, which is one of my favorite bands, Jethro Tull. And this is a record that I haven't listened to a lot, because the OG that I had, I never really thought it sounded fantastic or anything. It was good, but you know, Living in the Past has a lot of the songs off of this record, so I just used to listen to that. But I was really looking forward to this, seeing that RTI sticker on there and all that. Man, that was great. So, comes on the Stoughton jacket, which is made by Stoughton Printing, which is a tip-on style jacket, which is where the tip-on is where they print it on a really high-quality photo paper, and then they glue it onto the cover. Because you know, this thick cardstock is the thickest cardstock that you can get a record made today. You can't get a thicker cover made. And it was kind of Classic Records that started that back in '95 with those big, thick, huge covers. And that was one of the things that was really attractive about those Classic Records stuff. Besides the fact that Bernie Grundman was remastering them all, and they sounded fantastic, and they were all pressed at RTI. It was some of the best stuff ever. Of course, it was in the '90s now, see, people, and that they had to make records for audiophiles and people like that, because the masses were still buying CDs like crazy. People that aren't, you know, audiophile, let's say, just for the lack of a better term. They were making audiophile records, right? And now we've got Acoustic Sounds that makes audiophile records. And so I had big hopes for this record. And what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to compare it. I have this record, which is the Canadian OG. And I'll show you the label, because you don't see a lot of Jethro Tull records on the Reprise label with the steamboat on it. Right? How often do you see that? Yeah, not too often. The only one I've ever seen like that. So you know that's the first edition from, I think this is 1969, right? This record came out. That's when Martin Barr joined the group, because the first LP that they put out, the first run they put out, this had Mick Abrams on it, on guitar. And after this, Mick Abrams left the group. I think him and Ian Anderson didn't see the same vision for the group, and so he went to form Baldwin Pig after that. And that's when Martin Barr joined. And I always love Martin Barr's guitar work on all those Jethro Tull records. It's so good. So I'm going to jump right into the crux of the review here, because you know, when I compared that Marvin Gaye record, and I put my OG on and I put the other one on, I didn't hear a big difference, and I was expecting to, because every time I've got a record that Kevin Gray has remastered, I expect an audiophile production. And I know what that sounds, because I've got a lot of those records. I've got a lot of the Acoustic Sounds. I've got a lot of the MoFis. I've got a lot of stuff pressed at RTI, remastered by Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman, on and on and on. So we know what that sounds like. And that Marvin Gaye one just didn't sound like that. And of course, we do a deep dive into the reasons why on that video. That's why you should go check it out. You could probably learn a couple things off the video. And I've got a couple other things I wanted to talk about here, maybe down the road on the video, just to talk about, again, some explanation about why certain things are important when you make a record. Okay, so I put this on, and I'm listening to it, and sounds fantastic. Loved it. Sounds really good. Then I put the OG on. You know, gatefold cover, the whole 9 yard, nice Steamboat label. Put it on. I only had to listen to about 20 seconds of it. It sounded like somebody had thrown a blanket over the speaker. Okay, that's what I was expecting from this record. When I put this on, I got too many records going here. When I put this one on, I thought it was going to blow away that OG that I had. It didn't do it. I didn't hear that fidelity that I was looking for. Now the new one, and you know, Chad does it right. This is like I said, a Stoughton jacket made in the City of Industry over there at Stoughton Printing. And they also have, I'm not sure if you know about this, but this record is called Stand Up because the band's got a little pop-up in the middle. He's reproduced everything to the nth degree. Beautiful packaging. I wish they would do the one-steps like this, and they would do the UHQRs like this, and they wouldn't have to charge $125. They could just charge the $65. And even the Marvin Gaye, right? If they took this record, which was $39, $40, right? And they didn't have the two records in it. They just had the one, and they took it over to RTI and they pressed it, right? And they charged you $39 for it. In a cover like this, without being a double record, it would be a single. So those are usually like $40. That the ones that Chad makes would have been so much better. But you know, those are business decisions that people that aren't audiophiles that they make. And so if we were doing it, we'd do it different, and then we'd have a much better product. But thank God we have people like Chad Kassem that knows how to make good records. And so he's produced this. And like I said, when I put the OG on, it sounded like someone threw a blanket over the speaker. You know, I'm listening to this record now, and the hair on my head standing up on the back of my head. It is so much better. I don't know what they put on records. There's not many like that. That'll make the hair on your head stand up. Here's one right here. This one did it. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a thrill ride. When Chad makes a record, you get a thrill ride out of it. When Kevin Gray remasters it and they press it at RTI or they press it over at QRP, because you know we've got good people remastering those records, right? Gary Sahlstrom trained all these people over there how to do that stuff. So, and what am I hearing? What is really going on with this record? Here's the thing about this record too. Now, the first couple songs, there's hard panning. There's hard panning from the right to the left. Ian Anderson's voice is on the right speaker or the left speaker, and the guitar's on the other. And I tell you what, that first song on there, that could have been off Led Zeppelin too. I mean, they've got that guitar where he slides it and it goes from one speaker to the other, continually going from one speaker to the other, like they do on Led Zeppelin, and the way that the chord structures are, and the heavy guitar, and the beating of the drums. It could have come off Led Zeppelin too, easily. If it had flute in it, it'd be like Led Zeppelin with flute, right? Heavy metal flute. So then the next song, I mean, boom, right away, acoustic. You got mandolin, you got bongos, the kind of the tradition. He's singing soft in there. What a gorgeous, gorgeous song, and all the strings, all the plucks, lots of detail. I mean, the bongos are like 10 feet tall. all this when they hitting the cymbals, you can hear the stick hitting the cymbals. You hear the nice shimmer on the cymbals, and they're playing the acoustic guitar. You can actually hear the pick strumming on the strings. I mean, that's how much detail is on this record. And I think the most prominent thing in there, because a lot of those things you're listening to, and it's not fooling you. You still know it's a recording. But when Ian Anderson is singing, they really got him mic'd up well. And because the rest of the record now, he's centered in the middle. It's not hard panned anymore. Just those first two songs are kind of hard panned. After that, boom, he's centered in the middle. And his voice is so good. Not only do you hear the flash of the throat, but a lot of you're hearing the chest. You're hearing that right in his singing. That's what makes it sound real. That's what changes it from am I listening to a recording, or is it a person in the audience listening to this band? That's the kind of experience I like to get, because we know we're listening to a record, but we're trying to duplicate that "you are there" feeling. That's what gets your hair going up on the top of your head. Those types of things. So Chad has got a winner. I knew he did, but I was really surprised how good the record is. I mean, it is phenomenal. Super happy with the record. You know, it's not a $125 record. It's just a $65 record. Half the price of a one-step or a one-step or a UHQR. And how much better is a UHQR, a one-step, going to be from this? It's two records at 45 RPM already. What are they going to do to make it better? I don't need to spend $125 to get this little bit more, because that's all you end up with. And you really got to listen for that stuff. When you get to this type of fidelity, this is what all I need, folks. This type of record right here. And look, it's Jethro Tull. It's not the Eagles or Van Halen. How many audiophile Van Halen records do I need? I got a bunch of nice remasters done at RTI back in the early 2000s. RTI pressed a bunch of those. I think Kevin Gray remastered them in that, and got some Japanese Van Halens. Those are fine for Van Halen for me. Now I know there's a few of you out there. Van Halen's your favorite band, so all the power to you. Go buy all that stuff. But as far as the one steps were concerned, now I like Yes. So when they did Fragile, it's kind of I had to get it. And I know some people are like that. They really love Eagles. They kind of had to get that, a couple of those Eagles records. But for me, Yes was the one I had to go get. But there's all those other records. Like what I'm getting at is when you get to this stage in fidelity, that other little teeny bit more that I have to spend twice as much to get the record and get a stupid box that I can't put a bag on it and everything else, this is what I want. If anybody out there is listening, this is all the audio files out here. This is all we want. We just want to think a package like this. So let's talk a little bit more about some things that certain records have in common and the fidelity on those records. First of all, we have a Neil Young record, and this is made by Classic Records. And this was remastered by Bernie Grundman in 2008. Okay, so there's a lot of things that are different about that, right? We know what's going on there. Okay, now this one, this was pressed at RTI. This was remastered by Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman, 2009. Sounds phenomenal. It's that Massey Hall record too. It's like you are there. Okay. Here's the remaster by Van Morrison that was done pressed at RTI, remastered by Kevin Gray. Stout and jacket, the whole thing. Sounds phenomenal. And then we have T for the Tillerman. This is 2014, and this is George Marino over at Sterling Sound remastered this. And it was pressed at Quality Record Pressings. And if you've got that record, you know how great it sounds. That's why when you get a record like that 50th anniversary and the way that thing sounds. And if you've got records like this and you know what they're supposed to sound, what high-end sound is, you know that's not it. And here's another one, Dave Brubeck. This is from 2012, and Bernie Grumman again did this one. But it was originally, the plates that they had were from Classic Records when Bernie did it in 1995. Chad has just reissued this up using the same plates. So, what do they all have in common? Because, you know, we've got George Marino, Kevin Gray, Quality Records, Sterling Sound, we've got, you know, Coherent Audio, we got Acoustic, we got all these different places. There's only one thing that they have in common. Gary Sahlstrom. That's the only thing that's in common with all those records. And that's one of the key important things like I was talking about plating and how you make records and why that's so important. We know Bernie's important. We know Kevin and George was great, of course. And we know you need to get it done at RTI or Quality Record Pressings. But there's something else that's important. You have to be able to plate those records properly. And I hope you enjoyed the video today. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.